We are at this little roadside pond. You can see it's kind of a spillway thing, and we're gonna fish it. I've been wanting to fish this area for a while, but in the summer it's always overgrown, so I can't really come down here and fish it. In the winter, it is really, really perfect. We're gonna throw a worm, some corn, and see what we can get. This is just across Highway 18 from from Military Ridge State Trail and Goose Lake in Fitchburg. I think there's some pretty good fish in here. It's a fairly large pond. I don't know how deep it is, but there's a lot of waterfowl, and I've seen people pull up some fish from here. I've never been able to fish it before, so let's get a line in the water and see what's up. I just checked the water. It is around 48 degrees, which is about 2 degrees less than the magic 50 number, that where a lot of fish actually start becoming active. But it's not like that far off, so it should be okay. I'm using corn on one. I'm using worms on the other. The worms are in the deep in the spillway area, though the corn is more of like out in the open. And I'm throwing the spinner, so we'll see what actually happens to see if I can get any fish. I'm hoping the spinner can catch a bass, an early season bass, or maybe a crap eye. If this doesn't work, we'll start throwing bigger lures, but hopefully I can get this to work. Finally got myself a fish. And it is, what do you know? It's actually a bluegill. That's why they weren't hooking very well. It's not a carp. It's a bluegill. It's a tiny little bluegill. Tiny yet powerful. A bluegill for my first fish. What do you think, Mr. Bluegill? All right, let me go. I'm a nice bluegill, but you stole my bait. Your bait's yummy. Okay, I'll let you go today, Mr. Bluegill. All right, Mr. Bluegill, see ya. Something rather large has my line. It almost got me stuck. I think it's a carp. It is a carp. It's a carp. It's a small carp, though. It's not nearly as big as the ones that were at Stoughton, but it is a common carp. Very common. Man, these things are everywhere. Oh, 2 species for today. A commonish carp. Common carp. There we go, carp. I gotcha. Check that out, guys. A common carp. Probably like a 2-3 pounder, but a common carp. Second fish of the day. A common carp. Probably 1-2 pounds. Common carp. Very common and very carpish. Awesome little fish here. Let's let it go. All right, common carp. See ya. Well, after the first 2 fish, I changed one of my rigs to a bobber because there's a lot of bottom snags here. And changing it to a bobber basically eliminates the risk of a bottom snag. Plus, there's not much current here, so it's just gonna float kind of like in the center of the pool, which is what I actually wanted to do. I'm gonna keep slinging here in hopes for something else besides a carp or a bluegill. I know there are bass in here, and just don't know where they are, but I do know there are bass in here. I don't know if they're biting though, because it's only like high 40s in water temperature. I know smallies would bite, but there's no smallies in here. It'd just be the L&Bs I'm after. I moved out to the greater pond because in the spillway area, I feel like the bluegills were capping my ability to catch bigger fish. I don't know if the greater pond is deeper. I don't actually think it is deeper, but what I'm actually seeing is that when I'm throwing my bait in the spillway area, if it's a worm, the bluegills are on it immediately and they basically rip it apart, and other fish don't really have a chance to get to it. Hopefully in the greater pond, looks like in the greater pond the gills don't quite seem to be as active. So maybe I will have a better chance to get a bigger fish. I didn't notice it, but I actually have a fish on the line. I think since I didn't notice for such a long time, and it's not it's a bullhead gato fish. It's a lesser gato fish. I actually hate getting these on the line because they usually swallow it. It's hard to get it out of them. So a bullhead gato fish. I want to keep one of these as a pet, but unfortunately my apartment does not allow pets. Third species of the day. A yellow bullhead gato fish. It is the least gato of all the gato fish out there, but it is, look at the whiskers, it is a gato fish. What do you think, bullhead? Okay, I'm a lesser gato fish, but I'm still gato. Let me go. Okay, I don't need you for flathead bait. Yay! All right, bullhead gato fish. You get to gato your way back into the water. There you go. All right, guys, I feel a little weight on the, it's slowly pulling. It is another fish of insufficient gato-ness. I actually wonder if it's the same one, but it's another fish of insufficient gato-ness. There are many fishes of insufficient gato-ness here, and this one actually swallowed it. I think this one's actually a black bullhead, but I'm not really sure. But it's another fish of insufficient gato-ness. All right, it's pretty clear to me that if I just keep throwing worms, I'm going to hook either a bluegill or a fish of insufficient gato-ness over and over again. And because those two things don't really fight very hard, and none of the bluegills or bullheads are that big here, we're just going to throw 2 corns because carp actually do fight, and I've had quite a few carp bites. The thing about carp is they're actually pretty smart. Once I actually get a carp bite, a lot of times they'll just pull me around a snag, and that will actually cut my string, unfortunately. And because of that, I have not hooked that many carp today. Fish are actually hitting now. My pole is going insane. This one is not a fish of insufficient gato-ness, definitely. But oh, okay. It got off, damn. Oh, I think it caught me on something and it broke off the hook. Yeah, it definitely caught me on a snag and broke off the hook. It feels like it had me on around a rock. All the carp tend to be like in the straightaway that's actually coming out from either like the spillway. There doesn't seem to be too many in the spillway itself, but all the bites I've gotten are like before we get out into the main lake, like fairly close actually to the actual like kind of spillway type of thing. So that's where I'm going to be throwing. Don't want any bullheads or bluegills. Want fish that can fight, and that's what a carp is. It can fight. So we're just going to toss corn now instead of worms. All right, that is a fish. Did it get me hooked on a rock is the real question. Nope, I am not hooked on a snag yet. That is a fish. It's probably a dirty old carp. It finally hooked. Finally hooked. You know, the thing is, a lot of the carp here just bite really hard and they don't hook on. At Belleville and Stoughton, they almost always hook on. This, like, 1 out of every couple of carps hooks, and the carps here on average are pretty small. They're like 1 or 2 pounds. The ones at Stoughton are huge, and the ones at Belleville are a little bigger, maybe like 3 pounds. The ones at Stoughton are like 6-7 pounds average, but the ones here are very energetic, and when they hit, you know it. You definitely know it when they hit. There we go, a common carp. Oh, it got back in the water. All right, don't have to let it go. There you go. There you go, a common carp. Corn, whole kernel corn is definitely the ticket here to catching these carps. Not much else. The worms don't really seem to work for the carps because other stuff bites them, but whole kernel corn is the ticket for the carps here. The thing is, like, it doesn't look like they hook very deep here. Like at Stoughton and Belleville, like I said, like when they hooked good and they're not going anywhere. Here, they barely hook. Like that last one was one of the better hooks, but even on the last one, I mean, it fell off as I was trying to pull it up, as I was pulling it out of the water. So they don't hook nearly as deep here as they do at the other places. And they're not as big here. They're much smaller carp. All right, I got another one on the other rod. See, the thing is, it tries to pull me immediately into the snag over there, but they're not big enough to really have much power to pull. See that? They're very small carp. They're small carp, but they're very lively carp. Small, but lively. Oh, see, dang, lively. These carp here are some of the best pound per pound fighter carp I've ever had. They're not very big, but they're really feisty, and they can easily break off your string because they know how to go around snags, and they jump and do everything like crazy. These carp fight a lot harder than the average carp around other places. I don't know if that's because the water temperature is like, getting higher now, being almost around 50 degrees, or if the carp here are just better fighters. Could be a bit of both. That was a fun fishing day. Got many carp bites. I only actually landed one. I guess like the last 2 carp I wasn't really trying to land. I was just trying to like kind of shake it and like trying to just kind of like pull it up. And I had the net right with me, so I could have just like swooped them in. But several fish. So we know that there are bluegill, there are carp, and there's bullheads in there. I've seen people pull bass from there as too, so I know in the summer there's bass. The water is probably a little too cold for the bass to actually react. Not really sure if there's crappie or anything else in there. I know across the road in the other pond, and I'm pretty sure that pond's connected, there are crappie and pike, but I've never actually seen anyone catch a crappie or a pike from that specific location. So I might try it again later in the spring before it gets overgrown and see what else I can get. There's only a limited number of stretch of shoreline that you can actually fish there, and the best fishing is definitely like by the little spillway thing. So that is basically off Nesbitt Road and on the opposite side of Goose Lake. Pretty fun fishing place, especially if you're just in a fight and for some carp, because the carp are small but they're really really feisty. So on a lighter setup, they would be really really fun to fight. I hope you had fun watching this episode, and I will see you guys next time.